In this paper, I'm going to discuss about the effect of unemployment on skill depreciation using a new methodology called inverse probability tilting approach. So there is the content of this presentation, and let me first define some key terms that I'm using in this study. The first one is the broad term of a skill variable, which is the ability to apply knowledge and use know-how to complete tasks and solve problems. And the next key variable that I'm using in this study is cognitive skills, which broadly defined as intelligence or mental abilities or acquired knowledge. There are three types of cognitive skills in this study: numeracy, which mostly deals with mathematical context; literacy, which is mostly about written tests and reading; and the last one is adaptive problem solving, providing solution for the problem which is not readily available. Then the next type of skills that I have in this study is called non-cognitive skills, which is somehow an umbrella term that encompasses personality traits, attitudes, values, motivation, and grade. When it comes to types of non-cognitive skills, I have two types of non-cognitive skills in this study, which is called primary non-cognitive skills, which consist of Big Five inventory, and also secondary non-cognitive skills consists of passion, which is the willingness to sacrifice for now to have more benefit in the future. And then I have social trust, which cover the extent to which people can be trusted between 0 to 10. And finally, cultural engagement that could be a proxy for the social collaboration. Then, when it comes to the motivation, mostly we see that skills depreciate while workers are unemployed. But most of the studies, they proxy the effect of unemployment on skill depreciation through the effect of unemployment on wages. Because usually in economics, we proxy productivity using wage. When someone having more wages or higher wages, we say that they are more productive. But by this approach, there are some problems. First, the effect of unemployment on wage loss could not be a good proxy for like skill depreciation. Why? Because the wage loss could not be only due to skill depreciation. It could be due to lowering observation wages. It could be due to employer perception, and also it could be due to skill depreciation. That's why in this study, I'm going to investigate the direct effect of unemployment on skill depreciation rather than proxying from an indirect way. So the question is, does being out of work depreciate work as a skills? If yes, which types of skills more will be depreciated? When it comes to the review and contribution of this study, I will provide some closely related literature to my study. The first one, as I said, most studies focus on changes in re-employment wages rather than observing the change in skill itself. So there are two direct or closely related literature to this study. The first one is Cohen et al. Related to Germany. They found no evidence of skills declining in Germany. And also there's another working paper from Feng and Guo, 2025, which is related to China, focusing on composite index of skills depreciated in China during unemployment. But when it comes to the research gap, they use OLS regression, which mostly bias. And the second one is which skill are more vulnerable to unemployment they didn't consider. And the last one, do unemployment individual face different skill depreciation across countries, they didn't consider that part. When it comes to my contribution, I have a kind of cross-country analysis of the skill depreciation using the data from 19 OECD countries. And also this study cover a standard measurement of cognitive and non-cognitive skills rather than proxying by other variable. And this is basically the first empirical study that using IPT approach that's called IPTRA and AIPT that recently introduced by Seleninsky, Orsel, and Wardley just in September 2025. When it comes to the data and method, in the data, I'm using the data for 19 countries from the OECD PIOC survey, which there are two types of variable related to unemployment. The first one is asked is, in the last 5 years, have you ever been out of work for a continuous period of 3 months or longer? Yes or no? Then, if yes, what is the total amount of time you have been out of work? This is categorical, like between 3 to 6 months, 7 to 11 months, and also 1 to 2 years, and 3 to 5 years. And the advantage of this data is this provide direct measurement of different group of skills that are available, and it has rich sets of covariates and large number of countries. So the outcome variable in this study is skills. It could be composite, cognitive skills, and non-cognitive skills, and each individual skills. Then the treatment variable is past unemployment, and also I have control variable, which you can see in the other table. So this is the causal pathway, because we have both confounding factors and mediating factors. And the confounding factors, we have demographic factors, socio-economic factors, and human capital background. And then we have labor market variables that they could serve as a mediating effect, because usually unemployed people, in order to get rid of unemployment, they are going to accept ever lower occupations after being out of work for some times. So that's why they could serve as a mediating factors rather than confounding. So these are the types of variable that I'm using in this study. And when it comes to the model, so this is the model that other researchers usually use, but it's vulnerable to bias because they cannot capture somehow like selection bias and many other problems that we have. And instead, in this study, I'm using AIPW, which is called augmented inverse probability weighting, and IPWRA, which is called inverse probability weighting regression adjustment, with IPT weight, which is called inverse probability tilting. Basically, an abbreviation is called AIPT and IPTRA. So it has three different advantages. It provides exact balancing between treatment groups and also control groups. It can provide both average treatment effect and average treatment effect on treated. And it's doubly robust, normalized, and provide identical estimates for all different types of inverse probability tilting method that we have. So when it comes to the setting of this approach, first, we are going to find propensity score in order to match the treatment group with the control group by providing some covariate balancing approach. After, when we define the propensity score, then the next stage, we are going to find out the average treatment effect and average treatment effect on the treated. In the average treatment effect, we need to find first beta 1 and also beta 0 by using the regression on like yi on xi using the treatment group, and also yi on xi when di is equal to 0 using the untreated group, to find both the regression outcome for the treated group and also regression outcome for the untreated group. Then after that, so we have the same approach for IPWRA. The thing is, when we are using IPT weight or IPT approach, both IPTRA, AIPT, and AIPT, simple AIPT, they provide exactly the same average treatment effect. And also in the next stage, they also provide exactly the same average treatment effect when we are using this IPT weighting approach. Since I don't have so much time, I just briefly explain each steps. So this is a kind of like regression code for this method, because this is a new method and we don't have like usually in the default version of Stata, so we have to install the TFX2 all, and then when we add the regression, we are going to add the kind of IPT weight in the regression as well. So in the empirical results, first we need to find out the common support between the two groups. As you see, we have an area starting from 0.4 up to somehow 0.9, close to 1. There is a somehow overlap between the two groups. So we can see that there is a common support assumption is satisfied. Next, we are going to provide some covariate balance between the two groups. By covariate balance, it means we are going to somehow provide a closer covariate between the two groups. So when you see the variance ratio and also the standardized differences between the two groups, when we see the raw and also we compare with the weighted, and the weighted, when we see about the covariance balancing, it's close to 0. It means it should be close to 0. There should not be covariance difference between the two groups. And also the variance ratio should be close to 1. As you see, before the weighting in the raw, we have some variance ratio more than 1, more than even 1 to 1.2, but after that, most of them are close to 1, and also the covariate and also the standardized difference is also close to 0. When it comes to the results part, as we see, the unemployment affect both on non-cognitive skills and also cognitive skills, and also primary non-cognitive skills and secondary non-cognitive skills. Basically, I only provide the two columns, column 3 and column 4 from my paper, which column 3 include all the confounding factors, and also column 4, including confounding factors that provide the mediating effects as well from the job characteristic that we have. But when we are considering the mediating effect, after considering the mediating effect in column 4, we can see that cognitive index, cognitive skills index, and also secondary non-cognitive skill index does not show any significant effect of unemployment. So it means a big part of the effect of unemployment on skill depreciation on secondary non-cognitive skills and cognitive skills is due to like mediating effect. But still, the effect on primary non-cognitive skills is significant and very large. So when it comes to each types of skills, among the different types of cognitive skills, numeracy skills is more vulnerable to unemployment, because numeracy skills is the types of skills that we are least likely to use in our daily life. It's mostly like job or work-related skills. But when it comes to literacy skills and adaptive problem-solving skills, not only we use at work, but we use at daily life as well, like writing, texting, sending email, and solving some daily life problems. That's why literacy skills and adaptive problem skills are going to be least likely affected by unemployment. When it comes to different types of primary non-cognitive skills, and different types of primary non-cognitive skills, emotional stability is among the factors that highly affected by unemployment. Then consciousness and also extroversion, agreeableness does not affect it, but surprisingly, open-mindedness show a positive result that I didn't find any exact mechanism for that. When it comes to the effect on different types of secondary non-cognitive skills, social trust are going to be more vulnerable to unemployment, both in terms of confounding and also in terms of mediating factors. When it comes to, there is another problem may exist, which is the reverse causality problem, because it's being said that mostly people who are low or productive or who has low skill, they might be unemployed. In the next stage, those unemployed will lead more skill depreciation. So there are two types of approach, because I have like a large set of like independent variable somehow skills here. So it's really hard to find IV. It's somehow impossible. That's why there are two types of approach. First, to just drop the lower skilled people, or either use event study approach. But since this data does not provide like timely variable to handle the event study, so I drop the low skilled people. So still, when you can see after dropping the low skilled people, only problem solving skill is going to be statistically insignificant. The rest of them, those factors that they have been significant before, they are still significant, and even the effect on emotional stability is getting higher. So it means high skilled people have been more emotionally unstable when they are become unemployed, because for high skilled people, when they say, okay, I have enough capability, enough productivity, but I'm still unemployed, so it largely affect their emotional stability. So in the conclusion, I can say that I used a new types of approach that considers selection bias, and also it provide exact balance between the treated group and the control group. And also, I found that unemployment leads to loss of cognitive and non-cognitive skills, especially skills that least practice in daily life, like numeracy, skills affected by financial and non-financial pressure, like emotional stability, and social and consciousness skills. And in terms of policy implication, the policy should focus somehow on practicing, on providing a way that people could practice their skills in daily life. Like, I can suggest that we should establish a kind of employment support center that provide a training program, learning by doing somehow practices, job search path for agreement between those centers and also companies. and social connections between people who are unemployed, and also provide some free psychological counseling in order to deal with their emotional stability. For the future study, I want to consider the effect of unemployment on duration using multinomial IPTRA and AIPT estimator, and also skill depreciation rates across countries. And because the unemployment rate could be different in different countries, and also it could be different due to the different timing. And also the last one is I will consider the mitigating effect of skill use in daily life to see whether if we practice more skill in daily life, there will effect or not. And finally, I will consider the skill depreciation by field of study and my next step. So this is the last of this presentation. I hope I can manage the time well. Thank you.
I think very important.
Yeah. 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 Yes.
Paper because I have so I'm not
Yeah.
So I think intuitive explanation of others wouldn't audience was less familiar with.
Yeah. Thank you.
Willing to throw out the mediation, for example.
Yeah.
So there could be like a direct effect. Also, there could be an indirect effect. Even though I'm unemployed, there could be some other factors that could contribute to loss of skills.
Yeah.
You don't have to because it might be interesting. But I think that you can allow, you can see the direct effect and the indirect effect of it possible. Then one, if something completely wrong, should be like a doubly robust, or with the we're probably waiting, just that you're doing something
Yeah, when we called about double robust of this methodology, it means whether we exactly define propensity score part, or we correctly define the outcome estimation. Any of them is correct, so that both estimation will be correct. So that's that part. So for checking that part, for example, when I consider the mediating effect of job characteristic, for example, when I include only that one to the outcome regression, because that's like indirect effect or somehow mediating effect, so I don't need to consider that part in the propensity score part. So I just included that part to the outcome regression. So since I somehow correctly specified the outcome regression, it provides the same result when I also add it to the propensity score. Because since it's not related to propensity score, so although I add it to somehow make it wrong, but still I got the robust result.
You're saying one of your outcome specifications.
Yeah, yeah.
So the AIP, so the augmented inverse probability weighting will take. So when you say, so the inverse probability weighting basically makes it doubly robust. I just want to get that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the other things of the good things for this approach, usually when we use the traditional inverse probability weighting, so the sum of the weight is not equal to 1, it's not normalized. But this one provides some normalized weights, so that's why it could be much more effective and efficient than the traditional IPW.
There's one issue with probability that somehow if they don't have the one, they were in trouble, but first way.
Yeah.
We don't care if it's one, as long as they correctly specified
it, we're good. Yeah, but this one, like by construction, provide like 1, so that's why it's much more efficient than the traditional one. Yeah. Thank you.